First glimmers of Argon 7's twin suns pierced through the violet-hued clouds, scattering jagged rays across the jagged rock spires that jutted from the planet's surface like broken teeth. Kara Sloan, standing at the edge of the observation platform of the Etherian, let out a slow, controlled breath. The scent of ozone and metallic dust tingled in her nose, a harsh reminder that she was far from Earth, and far from anything familiar. Her brown eyes swept across the alien horizon, scanning for movement in the low valleys below, where strange luminescent flora writhed and pulsed as though the planet itself were alive. Kara's hand hovered near the plasma pistol at her side. She had trained for scenarios like this, drilled into her mind every possible contingency for hostile environments, for alien encounters, for the moments when humanity would be laughed at and underestimated. Yet, standing on this platform, the wind whipping her dark hair into her face, she felt the same pang of vulnerability she always did before a mission that mattered. Her chest tightened, not from fear of death, but the weight of responsibility. "They are watching," muttered Malik, her second-in-command, from behind her. His voice was calm, but carries the kind of tension that only comes from years in combat. Sensors are picking up movement near the lower valleys. Not aggressive, yet. Kara exhaled. That's never a good sign. She adjusted her grip on the railing, feeling the vibrations through her gloves as the ship thrummed softly. Every mechanical hum, every pulse of energy resonating through the deck reminded her that technology, no matter how advanced, could never truly replace instinct. Humanity's ingenuity had always been its weapon, its edge against the unknown. And here, on Argon 7, that edge would be tested. The mission was simple in theory: observe the alien outposts, gather data, and understand their technological superiority. In practice, it was anything but. The Xylians, a towering species with translucent carapaces and eyes like molten gold, had already made their reputation clear. They regarded humans as quaint, fragile, amusing. When Kara had briefed the team, her words had been sharp, precise. "They will underestimate us. That is their greatest weakness." She had believed it. She knew it. But the moment she had set foot on Argon 7, that certainty had wavered. The sheer scale of the alien cities, suspended on magnetic fields, casting shadows across the planet's surface, was almost enough to make her knees weak. "Ready the drones," she said finally. Her voice carried across the platform, firm and authoritative. She didn't notice the small tremor in her hands. Instinctively, she moved to secure a small pen-like device from her utility belt, an experimental graviton calibrator the engineers had insisted she carry. A trivial thing, seemingly. But trivialities, she reminded herself, were often the linchpins of survival. One small miscalculation could tilt the balance between life and death. As the drones lifted from their docks, casting shifting shadows across the crystalline spires, Kara's mind wandered briefly to Earth. The smell of rain on dry soil, the chaotic hum of city streets, the laughter of her younger brother as they raced through fields, memories that felt both distant and precious. The mission, the survival of her team, the stakes of this alien encounter, it all grounded her, reminding her why humans fought, why humans endured, why humans thrived where others faltered. The first sighting came suddenly. A Xylian patrol moved along the valley below, their limbs articulated in a way that was both mesmerizing and alien. Kara watched, heart pounding, as the creatures paused, scanning the skies. They did not see her. Their arrogance was palpable. They assumed mastery of the environment, a godlike control over physics and biology that humans had yet to comprehend. Kara felt a surge of defiance. Humans might not have the same scale or the same appearance, but they had creativity, cunning, and adaptability, the very qualities that had allowed humanity to colonize harsh worlds, to survive catastrophes that should have annihilated them. Kara adjusted the graviton calibrator in her hand, eyes narrowing. She didn't yet fully understand its capabilities, but instinct told her its presence was pivotal. A small, deliberate experiment, one minor act, could reveal the power humans wielded not in size or brute force, but in precision and ingenuity. She took a careful breath, letting adrenaline settle into controlled focus. "Deploy," she ordered. The drones descended closer to the alien outpost, hovering silently, cameras transmitting every movement to her display. The Xylians paused, their glowing carapaces reflecting the violet light like molten mirrors. And for a moment, Kara felt the weight of centuries of human skepticism, human underestimation, pressing upon her. The Xylians had laughed at Earth, at human technology, at human frailty. But Earth, and its people, had a way of responding when mocked. A small metallic clink echoed as Kara let the graviton calibrator drop from her hand onto the platform. The device hit the surface with a precise, almost imperceptible force, and then the shockwave rippled outward. Panels and consoles rattled, and the Xylian patrol stumbled, their perfectly balanced forms faltering as the ground beneath them quivered. Kara's pulse surged with both fear and exhilaration. One calculated action, one minor oversight for the aliens, had already shown them that human ingenuity was not to be underestimated. She glanced at Malik, who raised an eyebrow, a faint grin tugging at his lips. "You just gave them a first lesson," he said quietly. Kara allowed herself a small, satisfied smile, but did not lower her guard. This was only the beginning. The aliens had underestimated humans for centuries, and for the first time, Kara knew with certainty that this misjudgment could cost them dearly. The twin suns sank lower behind jagged horizons, casting the valleys into deep violet shadows. Kara inhaled, letting the planet's alien air fill her lungs, grounding herself in the moment. The mission had begun. Humanity's response had begun. And somewhere deep in the violet darkness, the Xylians were starting to realize that the rules they believed immutable, the very laws of Earth's gravity, of human resilience, were not trivial. They were formidable. Kara's brown eyes gleamed with determination. "Let them laugh," she whispered, tightening her grip on her graviton calibrator. "They haven't seen anything yet." The aftershock from the graviton calibrator still hummed in Kara's ears as the Xylian patrol scrambled to regain their poise. The once untouchable figures staggered, their golden eyes flickering with confusion and irritation. From her vantage point on the observation platform of the Etherian, Kara felt a surge of vindication, but she knew this was only the first ripple in a tidal wave of consequences. "Status report," she demanded, scanning the feeds from the drones. Malik's hands flew over the holographic display. "They are recalibrating. Sensors show some of their tech is already compensating for our interference, but it's slower than expected. They clearly didn't anticipate human ingenuity at such a small scale." Kara exhaled slowly, letting the thrill mix with the weight of responsibility. Every minor victory was a seed for the larger struggle to come. Her mind drifted briefly to Earth. Memories of her father, a mechanical engineer who had built tools out of scraps in a suburban garage, whispered lessons of improvisation and relentless problem-solving. Humanity's survival had always depended on such adaptability. Here, millions of light years from home, those lessons were more vital than ever. The wind shifted suddenly, carrying the faint metallic tang of distant machinery and the low hum of Xylian energy fields. Kara's stomach tightened. The patrol had regrouped faster than anticipated, and their movements were now coordinated, precise, almost predatory. One misstep could alert them to the Etherian's position. She could feel the anxiety bubbling beneath her controlled exterior. This was the crucible she had trained for. The crucible where humans would either prove themselves or be dismissed as inconsequential. "Prepare the drones for evasive maneuvers," Kara ordered. She moved to adjust the graviton calibrator settings, her fingers dancing over the delicate controls. Malik leaned close. "You really think a pen-sized device can keep us alive against them?" Kara's lips curved into a faint, determined smile. "Not alone. But it's leverage. Humans never fight fair, we fight smart. That's what they won't see coming." As the drones repositioned, Kara focused on the lower valleys. The Xylians' outpost now glimmered with pulsing lights and floating platforms, alien architecture defying every expectation she had. The patrol below appeared almost to communicate silently, their bodies bending in ways that seemed physically impossible, limbs folding and extending with unnatural elegance. Kara's pulse quickened. This was not merely a test of firepower. It was a test of wit, courage, and adaptability. She recalled the engineer's briefing on graviton manipulation. Minor variations could create localized gravitational anomalies, enough to disorient an opponent or destabilize fragile structures. Kara's mind raced, calculating trajectories and consequences. She could deploy the calibrator in micropulses, creating temporary zones where the laws of physics shifted subtly but dramatically. Execute micropulse sequence, she said. The drones hummed in response, descending closer to the valley floor. Kara held her breath. The pulses rippled through the crystalline terrain below, creating tiny, almost imperceptible tremors. The Xylians faltered again, an elegant spin misaligned, a limb extended too far, a patrol unit staggering into a floating structure. One miscalculation could topple the entire formation. Malik whistled softly. They are underestimating us more than ever. Kara's jaw tightened. Underestimation is a weapon. But we have to push carefully. One wrong move, and we tip them off completely. She watched the aliens, noting their hesitation and recalibration. The moment was fleeting, yet critical. Humanity's edge was always in these fleeting moments, seeing patterns, exploiting weaknesses, improvising in real time. Then, a sudden pulse of energy from the alien outpost hit the platform. Kara stumbled, narrowly gripping the railing. Her vision blurred, and the hum of the Etherian's engines seemed to grow louder, more urgent. "They are responding," she muttered. Her mind raced. Were they merely defensive adjustments, or were they preparing a counterstrike? The subtle shifts in gravitational fields, the microtremors of the terrain, it was a language, one that humans had only begun to decipher. Kara felt a pang of doubt. Could humans truly stand against this scale of alien mastery? The Xylians had laughed at Earth, at humanity's fragile form and primitive tools. Yet here she was, thousands of light years away, leveraging what they had dismissed as insignificant, a small, precise device, a clever calculation, and the unyielding resilience of the human spirit. "Focus," she whispered to herself, tightening her grip on the calibrator. She felt fear, yes, but also exhilaration. This fear was not paralyzing. It was sharpening her senses, heightening awareness. Humanity's ingenuity was at play, not brute strength, not overwhelming technology, but pure adaptability under pressure. The drones continued their intricate dance, pulses rippling through the terrain below. Kara's mind danced in parallel, adjusting, recalculating, improvising. Each micropulse, each tactical shift, was a conversation with the Xylians, a dialogue of physics and strategy, one that the aliens did not yet understand. For a brief moment, the valley fell into tense silence, only the hum of the Etherian and the faint rustle of alien flora filling the air. Kara's gaze lifted to the twin suns dipping behind jagged horizons, the violet light bathing the valley in an almost otherworldly glow. She felt the weight of centuries of human doubt, of historical underestimation, pressing upon her, but she also felt the surge of human pride. "Let them come," she said softly, a vow carried on the wind. "We've only begun to teach them the rules." And as shadows deepened in the alien valleys, Kara Sloan felt the stirrings of a battle not just for survival, but for recognition. The Xylians might mock Earth, but they had yet to reckon with its most dangerous weapon, the human mind. White heavy checkmark Chapter 2 ends, tilde 900 words. Stakes escalate. Xylians begin adapting. Conflict deepens. Tactical micropulses, gravitational manipulation. Protagonist growth. Kara balancing fear, responsibility, and ingenuity. Emotional depth, tension, courage, human resilience. Cinematic visuals, alien valleys, pulsing lights, floating platforms, violet sunlight. The hum of the Etherian seemed to sync with Kara's heartbeat as the twin suns sank fully behind Argon 7's jagged horizon, casting the alien valleys into deep violet shadows. Every crevice and crystalline spire glimmered faintly under the residual light, a surreal landscape that seemed alive, almost breathing. Kara's eyes scanned the valley floor, where the Xylian patrols were now reorganizing, their movements faster, more precise. They had learned, adapted, but she had anticipated this. Humanity thrived not on raw power, but on unpredictability. "Malik," she whispered, her gaze fixed on the alien formations below, "they are recalibrating too quickly. If we continue at the same pace, they'll anticipate the next pulse." Her fingers adjusted the graviton calibrator with delicate precision, each movement deliberate, like a conductor guiding an orchestra. Malik's eyes narrowed. "Then we need to escalate. How far can your device push them before it destabilizes the terrain, or us?" Kara hesitated only a fraction of a second. Far enough to show them they've underestimated humans, but not enough to risk catastrophic feedback. one calculated shock at a time. The valley trembled slightly as she released the next micropulse. Alien patrols stumbled, limbs faltering in ways that defied their biology. A floating platform wobbled dangerously, sending a cascade of luminescent flora tumbling into a crater below. Kara held her breath. Even the smallest misstep could reveal the Etherian's position. Yet, in that controlled chaos, she saw something she hadn't expected: curiosity. The Xylian's golden eyes narrowed, scanning not only for threats but for understanding. For the first time, they were studying her movements, interpreting intent rather than just reacting. Kara's pulse quickened. This was the opportunity she had been waiting for, a chance to turn May's survival into dominance of strategy. She allowed herself a flicker of pride, though it was tempered by caution. "We're drawing their attention," she murmured. "But we need to go deeper. Let's test their assumptions." Malik raised an eyebrow. "You're not thinking of a direct strike, are you?" "Not yet," Kara replied. Her voice was calm, though internally, a storm of adrenaline churned. "We don't need brute force. Humans win by exploiting what others dismiss. They think they understand gravity, physics, the environment. We'll show them how limited their perception is." With meticulous calculation, she deployed the graviton calibrator in a wider arc, creating overlapping zones of distorted gravity across the valley. The effects were subtle at first. Patrols wavered, some claws scraped against jagged spires, a drone faltered mid-flight. The Xylian's reaction was instantaneous. Golden eyes widened with alarm, bodies stiffening as their environment betrayed them in ways they had never encountered. Kara felt a thrill, tempered by awareness. This was more than a display of ingenuity. It was a conversation. Humans did not merely confront threats. They manipulated, improvised, adapted. And for the first time, the Xylians were listening. A sharp metallic vibration ran through the platform. Kara stiffened. One of the alien outposts had activated a defense sequence. Pulses of energy lanced through the valley, disrupting the drones. The team ducked instinctively, shields flickering as arcs of energy illuminated the violet mist. Kara's mind raced. She couldn't rely solely on the calibrator. She had to anticipate, improvise, and exploit the Xylians' reliance on precision and hierarchy. "Split the drones," she ordered. "Create patterns they can't predict. Force errors in their coordination." Malik moved swiftly, redirecting the drones into chaotic yet controlled paths. Each pulse, each ripple of gravity, was now a deliberate test, a psychological puzzle for the Xylians. Below, the alien patrols faltered more frequently, some stumbling into fissures, others colliding with unstable platforms. Kara could see tension in their movements, a frustration building as they struggled to regain composure. Their confidence, which had seemed absolute when she arrived, was now visibly cracking. And yet, Kara could feel her own doubt creeping in. The graviton calibrator, powerful as it was, had limits. One miscalculation, one feedback loop, and the cascading effects could destabilize the valley entirely. The thought gnawed at her, but fear, she reminded herself, was not a weakness. It was a guide, sharpening focus, heightening awareness. "Almost there," she muttered under her breath, recalculating trajectories for the next sequence. Her eyes flicked to Malik, who gave a subtle nod, understanding, trust, silent encouragement. Together, they had survived countless simulations, countless encounters. But this was real, and the stakes had never been higher. Suddenly, a pulse stronger than any before surged through the valley. Kara stumbled, feeling the floor beneath her quiver violently. The Xylians froze, limbs jerking uncontrollably as their formations collapsed. Platforms tilted, alien machinery faltered, and for the first time, Kara saw hesitation, the alien confidence shaken, their arrogance stripped away. She gritted her teeth, adrenaline and determination intertwining. This was a human edge, ingenuity, creativity, courage under pressure. No matter the alien technology, no matter their mastery, humans had the power to improvise, adapt, and survive. As the violet mist thickened and shadows stretched across the valley, Kara allowed herself a brief moment of clarity. The Xylians had mocked Earth, dismissed human fragility. But they were learning, whether willingly or not, that Earthlings could turn the laws of nature themselves into weapons. "Keep the pressure," she instructed softly, her eyes never leaving the valley. We're not done. They need to understand. Mockery has consequences. The drones danced through the air, ripples of distorted gravity cascading across the alien terrain. Kara felt a surge of exhilaration tempered with caution. Humanity had begun its lesson. And somewhere deep within the trembling outposts, the Xylians were realizing, for the first time, that the human mind could wield far more power than their eyes, or their arrogance, had ever predicted. In that alien valley, beneath the fading violet light, Kara Sloan allowed herself a fleeting smile. This was only the beginning. And for the first time, she truly believed that humans, so small, so underestimated, could leave an indelible mark on a civilization that had once laughed at Earth. The violet mists had thickened across the valley, turning every crystalline spire into a jagged silhouette against the fading light of Argon 7's twin suns. Kara's pulse thrummed in her chest as the drones executed their synchronized maneuvers, weaving through the alien patrols with precision and unpredictability. The Xylians, once confident and mocking, now moved with hesitation, their golden eyes scanning for the human that had disrupted the very physics of their outpost. Kara felt every vibration through the platform beneath her boots, the subtle tremors resonating in tandem with her own heartbeat. The graviton calibrator was pushed to its limits. Each pulse, each manipulation of gravity, was a delicate balancing act. Too strong, and the valley itself might collapse. Too weak, and the Xylians could recover and retaliate. The line between brilliance and disaster was razor-thin, but Kara had trained for razor-thin moments like this her entire life. Malik, maintain the drone perimeter and recalibrate to the new pulse frequencies, she instructed, voice steady despite the surge of adrenaline. Her fingers danced over the controls, eyes flicking between the alien formations and the real-time feedback from the graviton field. Every calculation mattered. Every microsecond could tip the scales between victory and catastrophe. The Xylians were adapting, but Kara had anticipated adaptation. Humans excelled in unpredictability, improvisation, and thinking beyond convention. She activated a sequence of staggered pulses, creating micro-variations in gravity that rippled across the valley floor. The alien patrols faltered, limbs overextended, drones spiraled uncontrollably, and even the floating platforms wavered. One of the outposts emitted a high-pitched resonant frequency, a warning signal, or perhaps a desperate attempt at stabilization. Kara's mind raced. This was the pivotal moment. Every human instinct she had honed over years of training was focused on exploiting this fleeting imbalance. Time to show them the consequences of underestimation, she muttered. Her hands moved with meticulous precision, sending a controlled shockwave through the valley that subtly warped the gravitational alignment of the alien platforms. Below, the Xylians stumbled, the elegance of their movements corrupted by unpredictable physics. Golden eyes widened with alarm, and for the first time, Kara sensed hesitation where once there had been arrogance. Humanity's ingenuity was speaking louder than any weapon, louder than any show of brute force. They had mocked Earth, dismissed human frailty, but now they were forced to acknowledge the threat of intelligence and adaptability. A sudden surge of energy erupted from one of the central outposts. Kara felt the platform beneath her tremor violently, and the hum of the Etherian rose to a sharp pitch. Alarms echoed across the ship, though she barely noticed them. Her mind was a storm of calculation and intuition. Could she maintain control of the calibrator and the drones simultaneously? Every pulse she had sent so far had been precise. One misstep could create a catastrophic gravitational cascade, tearing the valley apart and possibly destroying the Etherian. Malik leaned close, voice tense. Kara, you're pushing it. One more pulse. I know, she interrupted, eyes narrowed. One more pulse, perfectly timed, is all we need. Her hands hovered over the controls, synchronizing the drone's positions with the calibrator's field fluctuations. In the valley below, Xylian drones collided, patrol units staggered, and the floating outposts shuddered violently. Kara could feel the momentum shifting. The aliens were no longer orchestrating the encounter. They were reacting, improvising under human influence. And then she saw it, a single Xylian unit, tall and imposing, teetering at the edge of a platform. Its golden eyes met hers for the briefest moment, and Kara felt the weight of history, the centuries of Earth being underestimated, dismissed, laughed at, crystallized into this one instant. The human mind, clever, adaptable, audacious, had forced recognition from a species that had never known doubt. Kara exhaled slowly. This was it. The climax, the apex of tension where strategy met improvisation, courage met fear, and humanity's ingenuity proved its worth. She released the final micropulse with absolute precision. The Xylian formation wavered, structures tilted, and drones spiraled in controlled chaos. Silence fell briefly, a tense, expectant pause, as the aliens recalibrated, uncertain how to respond to a species that had turned the laws of physics into a weapon. The mist swirled around Kara as she stepped back, adrenaline still coursing through her veins. The valley lay in controlled disarray. No one was gravely harmed, but the message had been delivered. Humanity was not fragile. Humanity was not predictable. Humanity was formidable, in ways the Xylians could scarcely comprehend. Malik exhaled beside her. They'll think twice before underestimating us again. Kara's lips curved into a small, satisfied smile. They already are. Her mind briefly drifted to Earth, the home planet she carried in her heart. The memories of rain-soaked streets, bustling cities, the warmth of human ingenuity manifesting in even the smallest acts, all of it had led to this moment. Humans had faced insurmountable odds before. They had survived. They had endured. And now, on an alien world where gravity itself was a weapon, they had triumphed through intellect, courage, and adaptability. As the twin suns disappeared entirely, leaving a violet-black canopy studded with distant stars, Kara felt a profound mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. The Etherian hummed steadily beneath her, a faithful vessel and silent witness to the unfolding of humanity's audacity. Every micropulse, every calculated risk, had etched a mark into the alien consciousness. Earthlings were not to be mocked. The valley remained tense, the Xylians moving with careful, deliberate caution. Kara watched, every sense alert. The lesson had been delivered, but the war for recognition, for survival, for respect, was only beginning. Yet in this moment, she allowed herself to feel pride, not in destruction, but in humanity's ingenuity, in the audacity to confront what seemed impossible. "We'll need to plan the next move," she murmured, voice soft but resolute. "They won't forget this. And neither will we." A gust of wind carried the faint, metallic scent of alien machinery, mingling with the earthy aroma of the valley's strange flora. Kara inhaled deeply, letting the planet's alien air fill her lungs, grounding herself in the knowledge that humans had once again turned underestimation into opportunity. In the darkness, amid the violet shadows, she felt hope, not naive hope, but the kind forged in adversity, sharpened by intellect, and hardened by courage. For the first time since stepping onto Argon 7, Kara Sloan allowed herself to believe that humans could not only survive, but redefine the rules of engagement, reshape perception, and leave an indelible mark on a galaxy that had laughed at their frailty. And somewhere deep in the alien outpost, the Xylians were beginning to understand. Gravity, precision, and the human mind were forces not to be mocked. The valley lay in an eerie calm, the violet mists curling around jagged spires and shimmering flora. Kara Sloan stood at the observation platform of the Etherian, her gaze sweeping across the alien landscape that had been a battlefield and a proving ground. The Xylians moved with a newfound caution, their golden eyes alert, bodies tense, a silent acknowledgement of the human ingenuity that had disrupted their control. Kara allowed herself a moment to exhale, but relief was tempered by the knowledge that victory was measured not in chaos, but in sustainability. Malik approached, his footsteps quiet on the metallic deck. "They are regrouping," he said softly, pointing to the valley below. "But every unit is hesitating, recalculating. They don't know how to anticipate the next move." Kara nodded. Her hand rested lightly on the graviton calibrator. The device had proven its worth, but the mission was far from over. The Xylians were adaptive, and while humans had exploited a weakness, the aliens would not remain passive forever. She needed a plan, something beyond tactics, beyond technology, something human. "Let's analyze their behavior," she said, stepping over to the holographic display. Streams of data flowed, tracking every movement, every adjustment in gravitational response, every hesitation in alien coordination. Kara's brow furrowed as she traced the patterns. Humans had learned to improvise, to turn physics into an ally. Now it was time to understand the Xylian psychology, to anticipate not just their movements, but their thinking. Malik glanced at her, sensing the intensity in her focus. You really think we can predict them? Kara's lips curved into a faint, determined smile. Not predict perfectly, but influence. Humans don't just react. We create the environment, the conditions, the consequences. That's our edge. Hours passed as they monitored, analyzed, and adjusted. The valley below was no longer a battlefield. It was a chessboard, each pulse and movement a calculated strategy. Kara felt a deep connection to the mission, a thrill that mingled with fatigue. Every memory of Earth, every lesson of resilience, every improvisation from her childhood and training coalesced into this singular focus. Humans could endure, adapt, and outthink a species that had once seemed invincible. A sudden vibration ran through the platform. Kara stiffened, eyes narrowing. A new pattern emerged among the Xylian units, one of tentative exploration, rather than immediate aggression. They were probing, testing, attempting to understand the humans not as targets, but as variables in an equation that defied their assumptions. Kara felt a surge of satisfaction. They were learning. Slowly, subtly, the balance was shifting. Malik, she murmured, this is the moment to assert presence, not dominance. We need to show them humanity isn't just reactive, it's proactive, deliberate, aware. The drones moved again, weaving through the valley in patterns designed to test the aliens' perception. Kara adjusted the graviton calibrator, not to shock or destabilize, but to create controlled zones of unpredictability. Xylian units faltered slightly, recalibrated, and hesitated. Kara felt the thrill of influence, the quiet satisfaction that humans had learned to bend not only technology, but the psychology of a species far superior in size and perceived intelligence. Yet, amidst the calm, a pang of doubt struck Kara. The humans under her command were exhausted, their nerves taut. One misstep could unravel everything. The careful equilibrium, the lessons imparted, the credibility humans were carving from this encounter. Kara inhaled deeply, centering herself. Leadership was not just about strategy. It was about resolve, about endurance under pressure, about instilling confidence through uncertainty. Communicate with the crew, she said to Malik. Remind them why we're here. Remind them what we represent. A series of concise, steady messages flowed through the team. Each human operative felt the weight of responsibility, but also the pride of ingenuity, of courage, of proving that Earthlings could confront beings that had once laughed at them. Kara watched as her crew recalibrated their focus, as the drones executed flawless maneuvers, as the valley responded not with chaos, but with controlled tension. In a rare quiet moment, Kara allowed herself to reflect. Humanity had always been underestimated, by nature, by circumstance, by civilizations that measured strength by size, speed, or raw technology. But Earthlings had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and cosmic disasters not by brute force, but by cleverness, resilience, and the audacity to challenge what seemed immutable. Here, on Argon 7, that same audacity had shifted the balance. The Xylians were still formidable, still calculating, still proud. But their arrogance had been punctured, subtly yet irrevocably. Kara felt a surge of quiet satisfaction, tempered by humility. Humans were not omnipotent. They were adaptable, creative, clever. That was enough. That had always been enough. Prepare for extraction, Kara finally instructed. The mission was not complete, but the immediate threat had been mitigated. The Xylians were watching, learning, recalibrating, but they had been shown that Earth's children were not trivial, not weak, not irrelevant. Humanity had made its presence known. As the Etherian lifted slightly from its observation perch, Kara glanced one last time at the valley below. The glowing platforms, the trembling spires, the pulsing flora. They were all silent witnesses to a lesson delivered without carnage, without domination, yet undeniably effective. Humanity's ingenuity had left a mark. Malik stepped beside her. You think they understand? They will, Kara replied softly, a spark of pride in her eyes. They will remember the humans who didn't just survive, but taught them to respect intelligence, creativity, and courage. The twin suns, now fully set, left a violet-black sky studded with stars. Kara inhaled the alien air, grounding herself in the moment. Earth, with its storms, its chaos, its people, was far away, but its spirit had traveled across light years, embodied in her actions, in her crew, in the lessons carved into Argon 7's alien soil. The mission was far from over. There would be more encounters, more tests, more challenges. But in this quiet aftermath, Kara allowed herself to feel hope, not naive hope, but the certainty that humans, underestimated and mocked for centuries, had begun to turn the tide. For the first time since leaving Earth, Kara Sloan felt the weight of possibility. Humanity was not just surviving. Humanity was shaping the narrative, bending expectation, rewriting what it meant to be fragile yet formidable. And in the distant shadows of the alien outpost, she sensed the stirrings of respect, silent, cautious, but undeniable, from beings who had once thought humans insignificant. The violet-black canopy of Argon 7 stretched above Kara Sloan like a vast ocean of stars. The valley below, once a theater of calculated chaos, now lay in a tense equilibrium. Platforms glimmered softly, alien machinery hummed with cautious restraint, and the Xylian patrols moved deliberately, their golden eyes alert but wary. Kara stood at the edge of the observation platform aboard the Etherian, the graviton calibrator resting lightly in her hands. She felt the weight of what had been achieved, not just in victory, but in influence. Malik joined her quietly, his expression reflective. They've learned, but what we've shown them is only temporary. If we leave now, will they remember the lesson? Kara's eyes scanned the valley, taking in the luminescent flora, the jagged crystalline spires, and the alien formations that seemed to breathe with restrained energy. They will remember, she said finally. Not because we forced them, but because we made them realize their assumptions were incomplete. Humans don't just fight, we think, we adapt, we endure. That's a lesson they can't ignore. The crew moved with measured calm, performing checks, recalibrating drones, and preparing for departure. Kara watched them, pride swelling. Each member had played a part in this intricate dance of strategy, improvisation, and courage. The Xylians might never fully understand human ingenuity, but they could not ignore it, either. Kara thought briefly of Earth, the cities bustling under storms and sunshine, the laughter of children, the chaos of humanity in its purest form. That chaos, that unpredictability, was a weapon and a shield. It was what had allowed humans to endure, to thrive, to face the incomprehensible and reshape it into opportunity. Here on Argon 7, light years from home, that essence had manifested once more. Extraction is ready, Malik said softly, breaking her reverie. Shall we? Kara nodded, taking a final look at the valley. The Xylians were still observing, still cautious, but no longer mocking. In their hesitation lay recognition, grudging respect, and the silent acknowledgement of human cleverness. Let's go, she replied. As the Etherian ascended, the ship's engines pulsing softly, Kara allowed herself a rare moment to reflect. Humanity had faced countless adversaries, diseases, disasters, alien worlds, and civilizations that had dismissed them as weak or inconsequential. Yet through ingenuity, resilience, and courage, humans had not only survived, but thrived. The Xylians were formidable, but Kara realized that respect was earned not through intimidation, but through demonstration of intelligence and adaptability. A subtle smile tugged at her lips as she watched the valley shrink beneath them, the glowing platforms and pulsing flora becoming miniature patterns of light and color. This mission had been a test of courage, strategy, and endurance. Humanity had passed. Not perfectly, but meaningfully. Malik broke the silence. Do you think they'll try again? Kara considered the question carefully. Perhaps, she said. But now, they know. And humans, we don't just survive. We adapt. We endure. We respond in ways they cannot predict. That's our greatest strength. Her gaze shifted to the stars stretching infinitely above them. Every twinkle was a reminder of the unknown, of the challenges and civilizations that humanity had yet to encounter. And for the first time since stepping onto Argon 7, Kara felt hope, not fragile hope, but a steady, unshakable certainty that humanity could confront whatever lay ahead. The crew moved around her, checking systems, securing equipment, and exchanging quiet words of camaraderie. Kara felt the bond of shared struggle, of triumph under pressure, of ingenuity tested against the unknown. This was more than a mission. It was a statement of what humans could achieve, even when dismissed, mocked, or underestimated. As the Etherian sailed into orbit, the twin suns' last rays reflected off the metallic hull, casting elongated shadows across the alien landscape. Kara inhaled deeply, letting the moment settle into her mind. Every pulse of the graviton calibrator, every maneuver of the drones, every calculated risk. It had culminated in a lesson delivered without bloodshed, without domination, but with undeniable impact. In the distance, the Xylians watched, their golden eyes narrowing thoughtfully. Kara knew that they would remember, and perhaps, in time, respect what they had witnessed. Humanity had not conquered the aliens by strength, but by mind, courage, and creativity, the truest forms of power. Kara felt her heart lighten slightly. The mission was far from over. There would be more challenges, more alien worlds, and more tests of humanity's resilience. But in this moment, she allowed herself satisfaction. The lesson had been delivered. The stakes had been met. Humanity had left its mark. Heading home, Malik said, breaking into her thoughts. Kara glanced at him, then at the stars. Heading home, she echoed, a quiet vow in her tone. Home was more than Earth. It was wherever humans carried their ingenuity, courage, and spirit. And humanity had proven, once again, that it could rise to the impossible. As the Etherian accelerated toward the stars, leaving the violet valleys of Argon 7 behind, Kara Sloan allowed herself a final, reflective thought. Earthlings might be small, fragile, underestimated, but they were unstoppable when they embraced their ingenuity, courage, and resilience. And somewhere deep among the stars, that truth would resonate, echo, and endure.